you're never going to save enough money. You're never going to be in an ideal situation. I think if it's something that you're really ready for, just take that leap and God will guide you in the right direction.
It's another Wednesday, which means another new episode of the Skid Steer Nation podcast. It's Ryan Deemer, your host. And today we've got a gentleman from the great state of Kansas going to be joining us today. He's versed in quite a few different services. He's had quite the journey getting into the industry, and I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you. So make sure you stick around. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel if you have not already. That kind of helps us get some more people to find us. So if you enjoy the content, all you got to do to share it forward is like and subscribe. Before I bring Luke in, I do want to remind you guys that it is called the Skid Steer Nation podcast, which means our prime sponsor is Skid Steer Nation. You can find all the attachments that we have available online at skidsteernation.com. We only work with family-owned American manufacturers. The quality of these attachments are none from the things I've seen in the industry with my 15 years, the best, which is why we partnered with them. So we've done the homework for you. We've made sure the quality is there, the customer service is there. These attachments will work hard for you and your business. So head over to skidsteernation.com for your next skid steer attachment. One last little plug before we introduce Luke. Guys, as you know, last month in December, we launched Throttled Up Marketing, basically a division-ish of Skid Steer Nation, where we only do marketing services for business owners in land services and excavation. You've been listening to the podcast. You know that we talk to these guys every week. You know that I'm very dialed into this. And our team of marketing experts on the back end have all the technical know-how to blend with that knowledge so that we can provide the best service for you, from website design, SEO, Google business profiles, and all the other technical things that make you just roll your eyes back in your head. Don't worry about it anymore. Go over to getthrottledup.com. You can find it in the show notes and let us take care of it for you. All right, Luke Mace, man. Sorry it takes so long to do those little plugs, but we got to make sure that some revenue comes through the door for us.
Got to pay the bills. I get it.
We got to pay the bills. Yes, sir, man. So, Luke, you have a business called Kansas Property Services. You're in Meriden, Kansas. You're originally from Lawrence, Kansas, which I think Lawrence is probably the one town everybody knows because of the University of Kansas.
Yep, absolutely.
How far are you from Lawrence and Meriden?
Meriden is probably about, it just depends, about 45 minutes from Lawrence. So I'm kind of located between Topeka and Lawrence, Kansas. But, we're about an hour away from Manhattan, if you will, where K-State's located. So we're kind of up here in the northeast Kansas area, and we try to venture out, hour and a half is what we've kind of kept it to at this point. I'm not saying that may scale into other projects throughout the state later on, but as of now, that's kind of our area. So
that's awesome. I got to do a hard left real quick, and we'll get right back on track in just a second.
Absolutely.
I was watching. You mentioned K-State, and I was actually watching the basketball game last week, flipping through the channels, and K-State was playing. Yep. I don't remember. But I do remember that they were wearing like a full mauve purple outfit.
Yep.
And it wasn't like the purple of K-State. It's like that off pastel mauve.
It's a lavender is what they call it. It's a lavender.
My first thought was there's a lot of recruits that said, hell no, I'm not going there. Like,
I don't know. It's a pretty big hit around here. People seem to really enjoy that lavender color. I know my wife enjoys it. She has some stuff in that lavender color. So they're certainly venturing off from the original K-State purple with it. But seems like KU's done a little bit of that as well. They've had some odd color schemes here recently. I think a lot of campuses throughout the nation are kind of that to try to catch people's eyes.
Well, if you're a fan of a university, you got two hats and two shirts. What more do you need until they do a rebrand or a recolor? So,
yeah, that's exactly right.
It's just like everything in life, Luke. Right? It's just like everything in life. Follow the money.
Yep, they got to pay the bills, I guess. So
got to pay the bills. So, all right, enough about universities and basketball and mauve. Man, you had kind of an eclectic journey to get to where you are today. So in the grand scheme of business, you are still pretty new. You just started in 2023, correct?
Yep, that is correct. Yep, we started early 2023 and have scaled into different, different areas for property services, if you will. We kind of just started with a little bit of tree service and landscaping, and since have kind of gotten away from tree service. We'll do tree removal, but we are, big into a lot of ag stuff. So, ponds, land clearing, any excavation we can do for things along those lines. But with that being said, just, prep work as well. Even your simple backyard cleanup, we will do. So, if you've got, weeds or anything, or if you need a retaining wall built, things along those lines. But yeah, at this point, kind of scaling into some bigger ag, services jobs, on top of some of that, the building prep work, if you will. So,
I mean, where you're located, Kansas and Great Plains, there's got to be an enormous amount of ag customers in your service area.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, it doesn't always have to be a farmer that the ag service is for. I just did a land clearing in Lewisburg for a gentleman who purchased a piece of property, and he's wanting to start a farm and build a house for him and his kids out there, his own house on top of his kids living on this property, so they can start a new adventure in life. So it's not always it's an ag service, but it's not always for your 30-year farmer or anything along those lines. It can,
right.
And that was within city limits, so technically it wasn't even rural. So just we try to keep our spectrum broad. I think being able to offer multiple services to multiple different types of people for whatever they're needing is something that we really want to strive for, and that was kind of the initial start with Kansas Property Services. So being able to offer all those different types of property services.
I love it. Were you doing work like this on the side while you were still working before you committed to full time, or did you just jump off the diving board and go right in?
It was a little bit of a jump off the it was definitely on the side. Then it was a little bit of pushed off the diving board. The business that I was working for before I went full time, we didn't see eye to eye on some things, so we went our separate ways. And, kind of sat down with my wife one evening, and we decided to take the leap of faith, if you will, which I think in my opinion, is sometimes being forced to do stuff is the best thing, because as with kids, just like I tell anyone with kids, I have 3 kids, if you wait till the best time to have kids, you'll never have kids. There's never a great time, if you will. You're never going to save enough money. You're never going to be in an ideal situation. I think if it's something that you're really ready for, just take that leap, and God will guide you in the right direction. So,
well, and you could also say God pushed you off that diving board too, because it was time.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, and I think that's exactly, that's everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. It certainly has its stressful times. It's feast or famine, if you will, right now, being a young business and trying to establish yourself and gain those customers. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been an awesome journey so far.
Yeah, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that, because I feel when you're young, or even if you're single, taking that plunge into ownership, especially for the first time, it's scary no matter where you're at.
Absolutely.
Not having any children myself, I can't imagine what that felt like, having 3 little kids and a wife that were like, man, if this thing doesn't work within 30, your runway's minute in the grand scheme of business, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. My wife stays at home with the kids, the 2 younger boys. My daughter is in school right now, but she's 2nd grade. So, it's, it has its moments again where it's very stressful. But it's also nice because I'm free on a rain day instead of, being forced to go into work no matter what. I get to stay home and hang out with my wife and 2 young sons. So, I like to even, yes, it's a rain day, you're losing revenue, but you also get to gain that time that you wouldn't have had before to hang out with your family. I'm a big, I push business. Anyone who has the skills to do anything, I push owning a business as much as I can to anyone I talk to about stuff like that, because I think it's an incredible thing to be an owner while also being able to free your time up for other important things and not just work.
And that's the whole point of having a business, is that you're able to create that family time.
Yeah.
The guys that are working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're saying they're doing it for their family. When's the last time a kid ever asked to see the bank account balance? Never.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's not much of a life, is it? 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had my very long days, and wake up, the kids aren't awake, and I get home and the kids are asleep. But I also get to trade it out with, on a rain day, getting to take kiddos to the zoo with my wife, or things along those lines. So I think there's way more to life than just bringing revenue in. I think that's as important as it is, because it is important. We all have to live a life, and we've all chosen a life to live. It's definitely important to remember, family and the true important things in life. So.
Nope, I agree. We were in lockstep on that, Luke. Lockstep.
Good. Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I don't feel like I'm living lockstep right now, because I'm an idiot that keeps doing more and more.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
At the infancy of anything you do, it's like, my mornings start super early, and
yep,
I work way later than I normally do, but then I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about the next day, and then I'm tired, and I'm going through a good day, bad day cycle where I have a great day because I slept good because I was so tired at 4. And like tonight, I won't sleep for shit. And Friday, it will be me dragging ass to get through.
I go through the same process. My wife, she always asks me, why do you try to think so far ahead on things and not just sometimes stay in the moment? And it's like, well, yes, like we're starting a big project right now here in St. Mary's, Kansas, and my head has gone 8 different directions into the future, trying to make sure that things are lined up and planned right. And she says, why do you stress yourself out like that? And it's like, well, these are things you have to think about while you're in this step, because if you don't think about it now and it's not lined up accordingly a month from now, then you'll be in a real bad place. So I'm with you, and that sometimes leads to bad days, stressing out about things that aren't necessarily present. But I think it's important to take those steps and be 2 steps ahead of whatever project or whatever may be coming for you in the future. But the good day, bad day thing, definitely, I definitely agree with that.
Well, mine's just based on sleep, because like one night I'm so tired I fall asleep. The next night I'm normal and my mind won't shut off, and then I'm up till 3 a.m. So but it's just it's a mental cycle too, right? Like, so part of it's my fault. It's not all.
Absolutely.
I could be doing some breathing techniques or book reading or there's probably a bunch of things I could do different.
Yeah. Well, sometimes for me, my kiddos keep me up late into the night, so I get to do some of the business stuff then when I'm forced to be awake. So
that's how you should do it, man. Right? Like,
yeah.
I've got it's amazing how many guys I know that go back and do office work after the family goes to bed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's part of, I guess, until you if you scale into a big enough position that you can just, all your responsibilities can be distributed. But I think as a business owner, that's never where you want to be. You probably always want to have your eyes on everything going on within the baby that you have built up. But yeah, I think especially even as an established company, I know owners that are always looking at paper, always doing the business side of things, whether it's early in the morning or late into the evening. I mean, you just, that's, again, some of the trade-off that you have with owning a business.
Yeah, but
looking at what you got to
also
pay
an
for
owner-operator,
taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, when you're the owner-operator, like, you've got to get your day prepped early, and then you got to go work your 8-10-hour day, and then you got to plan the next day, the accounting, the customer. So it's almost like having a first and second shift job at times.
Absolutely, yeah, and making sure that whatever work you're doing for the day, you're staying, or you're staying on pace to stay within profit margin. That's one big thing that I strive to. None of this matters if you're not making profit of some kind. I mean, you're not going to. Some of that thins out on different jobs. Sometimes, not everything goes according to plan, but. That's one thing I strive for, is to set a pace or have a goal set in my head before I start a job. This job that I'm starting here in St. Mary's is a little bit different animal. It's something that's going to last months and potentially even over a year. I mean, maybe even years, with a lot of the different things that's going to be going on that the gentleman's going to have going on out here. But your normal jobs that you put in an estimate on, always try to have a goal set to make sure that profit margin is as great as possible. And that's one thing that, get up early, get going early, and then sometimes it's, working a little bit late, but if you got to do a little bit extra to make sure that profit margin is spot on, then so be it.
So you talked about profit margin a few times there. I'm assuming that you've got your numbers dialed in for your operating costs.
Yeah, but I feel like some of that's, for me, it just depends on if I'm renting or not. That's obviously ever changing. But yeah, I try to, and again, for me right now, it's not an exact science, just because of all the different, wheels that I have turning in certain scenarios. But yes, I do have an operating cost that I try to stay within daily, to ensure that bills are paid.
So this bigger job that you're working on now, this is me just being curious.
Yeah.
Are you charging? Are you giving this guy like a daily rate, or do you have a project or a phase rate, or how are you working this project?
So we actually came to an agreement. I put an Excel spreadsheet together with the help of my wife, and we and another contractor I work with, and we kind of came to a deciding factor on hourly rates. Speaking with the property owner, that's kind of how he wanted it broken down. I had asked him, I said, well, I can put an estimate together, but it's going to be some outrageous number, or we can get hourly rates put together for each piece of equipment that we know is going to be out here, which could be multiple pieces of the same equipment. An excavator is going to run at X amount of hours, or, X dollar an hour. So that's how we broke it down to him, was, we just get, an Excel spreadsheet with hourly rates on it for each piece of equipment that we think could be out here. And, I kind of told him that can change. Obviously had that discussion with him prior to that change, and it could, equipment could be added to that spreadsheet when needed. So, that truly, for me, I mean, we're going to be doing land clearing, some of it, there's going to be retaining walls built in creek beds here. There's going to be ponds built, building multiple building pads, roads. I don't want to get into too much detail because I didn't have a discussion with the property owner, but it is going to be something that the public will be able to eventually visit, and be kind of a fun little place for Northeast Kansas, people in Northeast Kansas to come visit. So, but it'll be like a agricultural, how do I say this? Like a farm attraction, I guess, is the best way to put it. There's just going to be different things for people to come out here and see how regenerative farming is based, because that's his plan for this whole thing, is for this farm to be 100% regenerative. So there's going to be, there's a lot of work that's going to go into it, but it's going to be, I'm super excited about it. It's going to be a great project. But yes, back to the original question. For me, the best way to break this down was to be by the hour. I think it made the most sense that way. He can, just kind of keep track of it the best way that way, especially with machinery. Everything's just go off the hour meter in here. So.
No, perfect, man. That sounds like a very complex project with all those different layers to it. So you have to figure out what works best for
Yeah,
you and what works best for your customer. I think anyone
absolutely.
that listens to the podcast knows that they probably know that I'm cringing right now. Because you just basically told yourself what you're going to make per hour, and that's the best you can do. And no matter how fast or slow you work, that's your hourly rate.
Yep, absolutely.
And my Luke, no offense, and I don't know all the details, and like this could be a huge project, and it could be exactly what you need. But I'm like, man, that you're just an employee at this point.
Yeah, yes, in a roundabout way. Yeah, I mean that is how it is. But there's so many variables that still have yet to be, that he's yet to cross off. That like the ponds, for example, we have an idea of where we want the ponds. We've told him where we think the ponds are best. He's talked about adding 2 more ponds on the further side of it that we haven't determined yet.
Right.
So that is.
I saw the scope of this, and that's I totally get it makes sense. Like my next question is this how you commonly bid jobs, or is this the outlier because of the scope and the size of it?
Absolutely outlier. I generally never go off by the hour. I got
that feeling that this was a one-off.
Yes, yeah, most certainly is.
That's why I was like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" This is a unique project, because when you start looking at multiple acres and multiple, like, okay, what's the best way to handle this? And it's overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you've just got it set up like, hey, this is what we charge by the hour, and this is how many hour, I'm like, oof.
Yeah, and each piece of equipment has a different hourly rate. For the most part, excavators are, mid to large excavators have a rate set for it. Finished dozers, even 100,000 pound excavator, we've got it at an even higher rate. So, I mean, I agree with you. I generally don't, talking to a customer, I never like throwing hourly numbers out because, like you said, you're just an employee at that rate. But, this is such
I don't like half day and I don't like full day.
Nope. I am a by the job. I am a per job estimate. Is how I generally base it.
You're talking about multiple ponds and I'm like, I get it. Like, this is not, one guy saying, very outlier.
Absolutely.
So, but it's also nice to know you have that consistency work and that you can probably sneak a couple jobs in here and there in between.
Oh yeah. And that's what this is. That's what this is gonna, essentially allow us to do, is scale into employees, and whether employees are out here being continuous, and that's the plan as of now. It's going to have to happen with the size of this project, where people are going to have to be brought in, but it's exciting. That's I think things like this is how you grow as a business. You can't. My desire has never been to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The moment you put an employee in a machine on that property and you're charging that rate, welcome to business ownership, baby, because now you're making money on somebody else's time. Right.
Yeah. That's exactly
it. That changes the whole game when it's not you in the cab,
Yeah.
If you had 3 guys out there doing that, hypothetically, if you had 3 guys and machines out there working 8 hours a day and you were still estimating and doing like some smaller properties and you're making money on both sides, like that's the name of business ownership, right? But if you're the only guy and you're charging an hourly rate, I might just stay wherever you're at, because by the time you take in if that's your normal way of bidding, this isn't your normal way, I get it. But if that's your normal way of bidding, by the time you get in the insurance and the maintenance and the break, you're better off working for the union or for that contractor that you left to go start your own business, because
that's exactly it. Yep.
The fees will catch up to your hourly rate.
Yeah. Well, and that's, one thing for that, this kind of goes back to thinking steps ahead, is equipment right now. So, a lot of the equipment we're going to have, I own some equipment, but, the scaling into some of the larger dozers and excavators, that's not something I'm at right now. So that's a rental for us. So that is where thinking steps ahead of, I need to plan on getting multiple pieces of equipment on RPO to put that dent into that piece of equipment and then get it converted, so that you're creating equity in something. I know.
I was actually going to recommend the RTO for you if you weren't thinking that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. RPO I've already talked with my dealer. I'm kind of in the middle of switching to Deere equipment right now. My dealer's here is really good, but yeah,
switching. I would have lost money, Luke. looking at your website. Your website is nothing but yellow and green. I would have bet $1 million you were a John Deere guy from day one.
Well, I certainly have had my I don't know, kind of gone back and forth. And if you're looking at the website, that unfortunately is not up to par right now. Some of that is, gosh, I hate to admit this, but some of that's from a bad bad marketing decision that of someone we went with. So that website needs to be updated pretty bad. And that's something that's on my radar.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, marketing is the one thing that, especially in like this industry where, let's be honest, 85% of the guys still don't know. Like, they might know a few keywords or a few phrases marketing companies have said to them, but they don't know what a marketing company does. And it's the one area it's so easy to be like, this guy sounds amazing. And it's more of an emotional, and it's not data driven.
Yep.
And it's a tough area to figure out how to hire the right marketing company.
And unfortunately, there are, and I don't want to knock that company and say that they just weren't right for me. They weren't. They tried, and there was a lot of things said that were never fulfilled, which is fine. And we went our separate ways. But that's unfortunately has left me. I've got my domain and my website, but it needs a terrible facelift.
But your website's working. Like it shows your service area. It shows your products. You may not like the way it's highlighted, but as a consumer reading it, I know what you do and I know who you are.
Well, so that's good to know.
Right.
And we've gotten business from it for sure.
Right. Like, I think, and I don't want to go down to a marketing rabbit hole here, but there's some small changes you can make ASAP and then before the revamp. But at the end of the day, like, I think that's not a level 10 priority when you're looking at this project that you're working on right now.
Yeah. And that's kind of where,
because it is working. So.
Yes, and another one that's been, is social media ads have been a blessing, super blessing for us. We've gotten a lot of work that way on top of, being new, other customers passing the word along. But I'm a big advocate for consistently having a social media ad out because if you base your price correctly on that, people are consistently seeing it, and you're ingraining into them, if you will. And I think that's one of the big things of marketing.
Now, let me tell you one thing, Luke, and this is probably way outdated. It's probably worse today. This was probably 2005, so 20 years ago. Damn. When I owned a bar and restaurant, the radio station rep told, and this was before apps on phones, before Facebook, so we didn't have all those dopamine distractions. Yeah. He told me then it takes 13 times for a consumer to hear a message before he starts to remember it.
Yep.
And I'm going to bet it's probably closer to. I'm going to bet it's probably closer to 20 now because we have so many more distractions in our hands. But again, back to your point, like that consistent message, like it's invaluable because it's really about catching a guy on the right day at the right time with the right problem. And he could have seen that. He could have seen your business 7 times and never thought about a pond or the back acre or any of that stuff. And then the one day he's thinking about it is the day he needs to see it. And if you're only running an ad here or an ad here, how many of those people do you miss?
Yep, that's I think that's a big part of it. It's for us. It's been worth making that financial commitment because it's certainly not the We could spend more, we could spend much more, but what we spend is not the cheapest thing for us, it's another bill, but it's what brings in the revenue. So to us, it's been invaluable to consistently keep it up.
So
right now,
again, it goes back to.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It needs to be data driven, right? So
Yeah.
if you're spending $2,000 a month on ads on Facebook, I don't know the number. I'm just throwing one out there. Some guys are probably holy shit, and other guys are that's cheap. But if you spend $2,000 a month, what dollar amount do you need to be generating from leads that you track that came from that source, right? So if you got 10 jobs and you averaged $4,000 a job at $40,000 with a 50% profit margin, and you only paid $2,000, which is 5%. That's what we. I'd be like, well, shit, can I do $80,000 if I spend $4,000? That's my mindset.
Exactly.
If I had capacity.
Yeah, and I think. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's how. So I work that into the operating costs. Just it's something we have consistently. It needs to just be worked into the operating cost. That way, it's in a roundabout way covered. I mean, that's the whole point of any of this, is to make sure it's all flowing into that operating cost, and you're in good shape from it. So I again, big advocate for it. I think consistency. I do think time of year makes a big difference. Right now, we're not hot and heavy on it because we got 16 inches of snow, a couple weeks ago. So the only thing you can really do right now is clearing. And I think people coming off of the holidays also are a little reserved, if you will, for the time being. I think everybody kind of wants to wait till spring to get any bigger projects going.
I think after Valentine's Day is the day.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone in their mind starts thinking like, hey, March is the beginning of spring, right?
Yep.
So the mind starts thinking about the things they want to get done. And I think that mid to late February is the time people's mind starts shifting, especially in the Midwest. I don't know about people in Florida and California, but like in the Midwest, I think it's late February. If you start throwing marketing out there, I think you'll start getting responses like, hey, I got this project I want to get done this spring. And now we can start planning work out instead of running around last second needing work. That's my philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I agree with you. And I think, that's where, for me in my business, this project hitting when it did, for me to start getting into the land, I basically all I'm doing right now is kind of clearing creek beds out of trees that don't need to be here, and it's a perfect time of the year to do it. The mud's not a big deal. It actually, the ground being wet helps. So we'll get this kind of out of the way, and then February starts rolling around, March starts rolling around, get guys and equipment, and then start estimating other projects, and kind of snowball effect, if you will, from there into scaling into something that I'm not currently. So that's the plan. But nothing ever goes according to plan. So we'll see how it all lays out.
No, it never does. But you gotta have like a guiding light, right? Like,
yep.
We've worked
general direction. We're going to go this direction. So I don't know how we're going to get there, but it's going to be somewhere in this direction.
Yeah, I remember we would start building new products and have to go through the whole layout, like through engineering and the manufacturing, the testing, and it just became. And like I wanted to control it all. It's like, oh, we'll do this by these dates, and we'll have these 7 things done. We'll do it. And then the plan always blows up, right? So then I just started changing. I changed the way I'm like, hey, these are the 7 steps in the order they need to be done. And the project needs to be done on this date. And when I stopped doing the tiny micro minutia things with the team and just gave them the overview, it ran so much smoother. Like, hey, we can't build a tool, a jig, without the prints, a prototype. So like, let's do everything in the right order, and like, let's get these and make sure this guy's here and that guy's there. And then I stayed the hell out of the way, like, because you're paying these people to work, and like we were in the manufacturing. I'm like, and yet I'm micromanaging them like it's a 5-year-old trying to tie their tennis shoes, right? I'm like,
that's hard to let go, though. I am 100% guilty of that. In situations where I have an expectation in my head of how I want and something done, and for it to, the final product not everyone's going to have that same expectation. Even the homeowner may not have that same expectation, but, or, same ending expectation. But I think, I'm a bit of a perfectionist and, control or micromanage, but, that's definitely one thing that I am going to have to work on as I grow of you're hiring people to do the things that you can't do everything. So kind of accepting that those people are there for a reason and gaining trust with them, I think is a big thing.
My best advice for you, Luke, is this, man. If you as a business owner and you're hiring people kind of for the first time, go very stringent on the interview process and make sure they fit your beliefs, your values, that they have the same light that lights up a room and they enjoy people, because that's the customer service aspect, right? You can train anything else. And when it comes to your standards, you have to remember your kids don't have your standards, but they're developing them.
Yep.
Right. So you almost have to become like a father and a coach to these guys, and you need to manage similar to the way you parent, because if you're like, that's shitty, you didn't do it right, they're actually going to get worse.
Yes. Yeah. It's a negative. Absolutely. I agree 100% with you on that. And that's certainly the plan, but I do
with questions.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think that's right. I think, certain scenarios you have to ask, well, do you think you did it correctly? Do you think this is something that you would be, okay with? But I think one thing I hear about is the okay.
We got a little bit of a delay. I'm talking. Now, go deeper than that. Just like, what was your thought process as behind why you did it this way? Don't say it was actually enough. Like, that's too high level. Like, I get into like the minutia of it, right? Like, okay, so we did this step first, correct? Yeah. Why was that what was your thought process behind doing this cut here first versus the cut over there? Well, I didn't have a thought. Oh, so the problem is you didn't do it wrong. The problem is you didn't fucking think about it, right? That's the problem.
Yep.
Right.
I got you.
So like,
and that
makes
100% sense.
Just go deeper, and like, you want to get into their head. Like, where were we at here? And they might say, well, I cut it this angle and added that extra 2% because that hillside over there and there's no swale. That when you're like, shit, I didn't catch that. Good call. We saved rework, right? Like, you just never know. So I always like to go a little deeper with those questions.
And that makes sense. And I'll certainly, I will definitely work on that, because you definitely want to get to the base of whatever that answer may be. And I think, going deeper, like you said, is how you're going to get there. To see what their thought process is, to see if it needs to be changed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like the same with customers too. Like when you're out doing an on-site inspection or you're on the phone with them and they tell you a problem, that's never their actual problem. In my opinion, there's 3 layers to a problem. The problem that's is creating from, and then the core problem.
Yeah.
Like the problem of the problem of the problem.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's 100% right.
It sounds confusing, but when you start looking at issues that you've had in your life, and like, or even with customers or with different kids, like, my problem is my kid's acting out in school, right? It's because Jimmy doesn't like him, as the kid sits next to him. Oh, Jimmy doesn't like him because he pulled his hair last week. So, the problem is my kid pulled his hair, and now it's causing a chain reaction of events that gets him to acting out in school. It's like there's always a problem.
Trickle down effect. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you got to dig deep down there, whether it be with employees or clients.
I can't disagree with that at all.
Especially with clients, if you can dig deep to find out what the real problem is, and you can connect with them on that, like, price becomes irrelevant, because that you get them, and they like, oh, that's my guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And generally that's, after you kind of saying that is, I mean, the conversations always last quite a while, because they have to. You got to find out what the true, they may have an idea of what they want, but maybe, if you dig deep into what they're truly looking for, you can offer the suggestions, and it may be more efficient and make more sense. I've certainly had those jobs where it gets changed from the original expectation that they had before they had a contractor come out, and then it makes a lot more sense to do it a certain way. So
and there's nothing worse than being the guy who's got. Yeah, you can be like, yeah, I can do that, right? And then you're there 2 days, like, you know what? Now that you started that, I kind of want this done this way, not that way. And you're like, yeah, lady, you should have told me that. I'm like, she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. Like,
That's exactly
she's
it.
looking
That's
at
why you're
raw
there.
ground, right? Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. That's exactly it. That's exactly right.
spend a little
So
time with her to walk through it before you start working and have to do rework.
always create a relationship.
But
That's one, one thing I try to always strive for is creating a good relationship. That customer needs to entrust in you, and you and them as well. And I think, I think that's valuable even going forward, beyond that project. Even, I have a customer that I just, we became friends from a job that I just did in December. I think it's invaluable to take the time and talk with people. Yeah, I got a million things going on and I need to get this job done and I need to stay on pace for what goal you set. But take the 15 minutes and have a conversation with someone. I think there's not enough of that goes on in the world today.
no, and at the end of the day, like, you need to be present with those customers, because if you're
Absolutely.
thinking about later tonight or the next day and you're just there and you're checking boxes, they sense that.
Yeah.
And then they feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. If they think that you're just being a robot to them, that's not going to create a good relationship. I think being genuine and, don't get me wrong. There's, conversation lasts too long. You need to put some cues out there that you got to get back to work. But,
right.
But that initial, the time that you've taken. Yeah.
Yeah. The only way a conversation lasts too long is that you're present and engaged and continue talking with them. But if you walk in like, hey, what do you need? Where's it at? All right, I'll take a look at it. Give me 15 minutes. Hey, yep, I looked at it. Here's what I can do for a price. Do you want me to do the work? And they're like,
that's never a good way to lead, for sure.
Because you're like, I got another one I got to get to. I got to go. I got to go.
Yeah.
Like, they sense that. So
yeah,
whether you got to sit in your truck and like figure out how to breathe for a minute, or just like listen to music, like find some way to like, okay, disconnect so I can be present, because this job could pay this bill, make sure this is there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
A bad
it's just, again,
could mean, and a bad experience is when people talk the most about you. Yeah.
And communication, I think, anyone who's listening, I'm sure there's people out there that are over communicative like I am. I am an over communicator, because that is the one thing that will separate you from other contractors. And I'm not saying every contractor is, but I do. The biggest complaint I get from when I meet with people is, well, thanks for actually calling me back, or thanks for actually answering the phone, or,
it's so
all
simple.
those things. And it's crazy to think that, for me, it's crazy to think that there are customers, or not customers, I'm sorry, but contractors in business that are not good at it. It is simple. It's just be engaged with your customer, and be honest with them. Even if the project isn't going according to plan, communicate that. Almost, I would say 95% of most humans on this planet would be understanding of whatever scenario that you had happen.
It just baffles me that you guys, that guys would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million, on all this equipment to not answer their phone.
Yeah, I know.
Baffles the shit out of me.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, but I think that's where you find out what other people aren't doing and try to, and I started out as a good communicator. I try to, I know how important that is, but if you find out other contractors aren't doing something, make sure that you're doing it, because that's going to separate you from them. And, you won't get every bit of business. There's a reason there's so many contractors open, because there's a lot of business out here and plenty for everyone. But, if you can separate yourself in some little form, communication, honesty, whatever it may be, I think that'll in turn, the business return will be worth it.
Yeah. And I don't know where my mind just kind of popped this thought in my head as you and I have been talking about this phone call stuff. But like, the other thing is, you're a solutions provider for these people, whether they hire you or not, because if you educate them and teach them things, like you're their guy. I have a customer, and it's funny, is the phone rang last week on the business line for Skid Steer Nation. And I'm like, I think that's that guy that bought that grader 4 years ago. And how I remember that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Obviously left a mark on me somewhere, right? But I let the team handle it and worked all that. And I get a message saying, hey, George wanted to talk to you. So I called him back. He's like, hey, I want this attachment. I'm like, yeah, we don't sell anything like that. I know exactly what you want. We don't have an option for that. He's like, oh. I said, what price? So I went through the process as if I did. Like, what price do you have? Or what's this? What's that? And then I got online. I'm like, hey, I'm looking at 3 different manufacturers. I don't like the welds on this one. This one looks really well done. This is how they're spinning this one. This is that. If I was in your shoes, I'd buy the one from manufacturer A.
Yeah.
Different, it's another online skid steer attachment sale place. But I'm like, I can't help you.
Yeah. But it's honesty.
This is the one that I would buy. I'm like, this is the one that I would buy, and here's why, and this is the part, and this is what the blade is. And I'm like, and this, from my experience in manufacturing, that's the one I get for your need. And then we went over the width that he needed and figured out what would work best for him. He goes, so I call you, Ryan. He goes,
yeah.
He goes, I wish you would have had this for me. He's like, but the next attachment I need, I'll be back. Like,
yeah,
because we took care of it.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's all you can do. And that's, I've certainly had my customers that I've gone and met with that, this was earlier on. That's, you talk to them and you kind of start figuring out what they're needing. And, you just may not be the guy for them. It may not be, not every customer's, going to accept your estimate and or need exactly what you're offering. I generally tell customers I'm not the cheapest. And if you're looking for the cheapest, then, I'm probably not the person for you. Because, quality and cheap, as you know, selling attachments, don't generally land in the same sentence together. It's pretty hard to get those two things at the same time.
Yeah. I see those guys that they'll come back from an auction going, I just got a brush cutter for $2,200. And I'm like, I hope you get one project done with it. And sure as shit,
good luck.
Blowing the motor. And I'm like, that thing's been sitting on a ship in the saltwater coming from China with half-grade parts to begin with. And then it probably sat here for a year. And you think you got a deal. I'm like,
you didn't. You can't.
I love a good deal as best as anyone.
But it better be quality.
To me, I have a little checklist. How often do I use it versus like, what do I need it for? And there's sometimes the cheap things works for me. It's like,
I think it just depends.
That,
a power washer for your house, right? You spend $150 on it. You don't need anything fancy that you're just using once a year to wash the house down. But if you're
and I don't care if it takes me twice as long because I got time.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're clearing trees.
It means I get to drink.
You want something on an excavator? I mean, yeah, exactly.
Oh, babe, it's gonna be another 6 hours out here. I got another 3-4 hours.
Why are you just sitting on top of the house? Don't worry about me. Don't worry about why I'm on top of the house. Okay. letting the power washer warm up. You just calm down.
Yeah. Why'd you buy the cheap one? It takes 3 times longer. Did it on purpose.
Don't you worry about it, dear. You don't worry about the little things, okay, honey? I got it.
Don't you worry about it. Oh, man. That's funny.
Heck.
Hey, I got to ask, do you still find time for your self-enjoyment time, like going out and doing things for yourself, or are you like all kids, all business these days?
Pretty well, unfortunately. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. What I do is I get my kids involved in the things I like. So I have an 8-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. My 2-year-old starting to do. I mean, he is the nice thing with him is he is everything equipment. He wakes up and he lives, breathes equipment. But he's 2, so that's been a blessing, and it's obviously, as a dad, being able to put him in scenarios that most 2-year-olds don't get to be in, it's pretty awesome. My 8-year-old, she is a huge, she loves to fish. I love to fish. I love to hunt, love to do all that stuff. Being outdoors is my favorite. She loves to fish. So we do that pretty frequently. She actually it was something that I was supposed to do. I lost track of time on it, but she had caught for her first mounted fish, she caught a really, it was a 10-inch bluegill. I don't know if you fish. I don't know if you know what a bluegill is. But they're generally pretty small. And this one, we measured it out. It came out to be 10 inches. It was a nice slab. It was a fatty. And, I told her, I said, well, that's your first fish that I think you've caught that's worth getting mounted. So we just got that done this last, it finally showed up this winter. But yeah, I mean, that's all I can do. There's nothing I love more than being a dad. So just getting them involved in everything, that we can do together. I try to always do that. I mean, my middle boy, my 2-year-old, he'll come with me to estimates. He'll ride with me if I got an estimate day set up where I have 3 or 4 estimates going on. He comes with me and meets customers, and it's just time. There's another prime example of owning a business. Most companies aren't going to let you do that. Aren't going to let you bring your son along. I'm not saying there isn't some out there. I'm sure there is, but there's nothing. A majority of us are going to get 60 to 80 years on this planet, and we get 18 years with each of our kids till they're, granted, obviously you're with your kids longer than that, but he'll never be 2 again. So
I just
try to work all of that in.
They show a graph somewhere online. I remember where I found this, but the amount of time parents spends with their kids over a lifetime, and it's really compressed to like an 8-year period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even at 12, right, they've got school, they've got sporting events, they've got some friends. So again, they live in the house and you see them, but the time's not there. And it's wild to think that you're like, oh, it's my son. It's my son for life. Like, yeah, but that time that you're going to be living off memories before you know it. Absolutely.
And that's the number one thing to do right now is for me and my wife is to try to create as many core memories as we can. She's, again, one of the things that we took a leap of faith on is her staying home with her. We had our 2-year-old. We didn't expect to get pregnant with our third as fast as we did, but we did. So we took a leap of faith, and she stays home with them. So, but she didn't get to do that with our daughter. And it's invaluable. You don't get it back. You don't get that. That's one thing that I feel like, not to get on a tangent here. I'm sorry if I am, if anyone, and I'm sure someone's going to disagree with me, but I do feel like, all we do as a society is go to work and pay taxes and then get 2 hours, an hour or 2 hours with our kids in the evening. That's not living. That's not life to me. I think we've got to slow down and really reflect on the important things. And really get back to figuring out what that is. So that's our opinions. That's how we feel. I can't say I always include my kids. There's times I want to get away from them. Don't get me wrong. They'll all 3 be crying about something. It's like, oh man, I got to go to work or something. But, my wife has been, she's been awesome. She handles that great. And she knows, late night wake ups. I'm not the guy. I do not like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not saying I won't do it, but it's not my favorite. So, but I think the other places that I can, take them out on the 4-wheeler or take them fishing or, I honestly couldn't tell you last time I fished by myself. It's just, that's the whole point of being a dad.
It's pretty awesome.
It's them, right?
I think you're spot on in a lot of areas, and I love your philosophy.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, damn, man.
So hopefully you don't get any
end.
letters because of my opinions, but
Luke, I would probably tell you that you were in the majority in our little ecosystem of business owners and excavating and land clearing and stuff. I think you're in the majority, not the minority.
Yeah, I
think the ones that are
so.
working their ass off. I think the ones that are working their ass off or either have that false belief of like, I'm doing this for my family. They just haven't had the light hit them going, oh, but I'm not spending time with my family. Or, I really think that a majority of these guys, that's why they did the business, so they could build the family life that they want to build. So, or they're
absolutely.
building a business because the word I hear the most in this industry is like, I want to build a business, a legacy business, so that if my kids want to take it over, they can. Like I hear the word legacy constantly in this industry.
Yeah. I think about that, but I don't. It's certainly not my number one right now. The number one for me is just
right.
Scaling. I certainly don't think that far ahead. I'm just, doing what's best, making sure we're putting quality services out. And if it stays that way and, my kids want to take over or do something with it, awesome. But it's not anything I'm thinking that far ahead yet. I don't care about legacy so much as the present. Legacy's too far out. That's something that'll come with time. Gotta stay, to me, you gotta keep your mindset more present.
No, but I think the point I'm making to you is I think that most of them
with the family. Yeah.
With the family.
Yeah.
Right. That's the point I'm making is that I don't think you need to worry about hate mail coming in for your philosophy.
No, I can't imagine. So. Yeah, I can't imagine. So,
no, I think you're good to go, man. I think you're good to go. Well, man, that's a powerful note. I think we should wrap it up there. I want to be courteous of your time. I know you're actually sitting in a piece of machinery. I can see the word clear behind your head.
Yeah, that's right.
Get back to work so you can keep making that money. But Luke, thank you so much for taking time out, being so open and sharing your story and your beliefs with us. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think the audience will too.
Well, I greatly appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we can catch up here in another year or two and do it again and see where everybody's at that point. So
you get some crazy moments that happen in your business and your life and all that. Just don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, I think I'm ready for episode 2.
that sounds great. No, I appreciate it, Ryan. You guys have been awesome. And reach out if you ever need another guest on. So
we sure will, man. Well, I appreciate you so much.
All right. You guys take care. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Guys, just remember, man, we're building these businesses so that we can spend time with the ones that we love and our family members and all that. So whether you have to set a boundary in the morning or the evening to carve out a few hours and go back to work later, trust me, you'll regret not doing it more than you'll hate doing it in the moment. So that's a strong, powerful note that we're doing things not just for ourselves, but for our loved ones. And I think that's a note I want to end it on today. Until next week, guys, be safe, be strong, grind on.